Hi ho and bright suns, everybody! Welcome back to D Plus Us Weekly, the show where we talk about shows exclusive to Disney Plus, episode by episode, week by week, for our enjoyment and yours. I'm one of your hosts, Griffin Griffy D-Pad, and with me, as always, is the wonderful, the amazing Mr. Mitch George. How are you doing?
Yo ho ho and a bottle of blue milk, Griffin. I am good. I am pumped for this. I am tired as all hell.
Life has been crazy, folks. Our release schedule is going to be real fucking weird for a while. I'm sorry.
We'll make it work. We'll make it work. We're going to get together to talk about this every week, whether or not it's, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Who knows?
Yeah, Tuesday. We're gonna start with that.
We're going to try.
Life is being
That's
weird.
The goal.
Life is being great and fantastic and amazing to us right now. So with that, it just means that we're busy and things happen. So we'll be getting the show out when we can. We'll be getting the other show out whenever we can. But we're not here to talk about our lives. Well, we always are in some extent. But we're talking today about Skeleton Crew.
No matter what.
We're talking about Skeleton Crew. Finally.
Yeah, we are.
Man, it feels like this show was announced ages ago.
That's because it was, wasn't it?
I don't actually remember when this show was announced. I know it was I think it was announced roughly the same time as Mando and Ahsoka.
Here, let me see if Wikipedia can help me. Premise, production. So February 2022, Production Weekly revealed the existence of an upcoming untitled Star Wars series that was being developed under the working title Grammar Rodeo, which John Watts was rumored to be showrunning, which obviously became this.
So, okay.
And was officially announced in May of 2022.
So 2 years.
And change.
It feels longer than that, but maybe that's just because of the world the last couple years. We got Star Wars Goonies. We finally got Star Wars Goonies.
We got an Amblin Entertainment production from the 80s in space with Star Wars, and I'm happy about it.
Mm-hmm. Of course, folks, we are full spoilers on this show. We will be talking about both Episode 1, This Could Be a Real Adventure, and Episode 2, way out past the barrier. But if you don't want spoilers for this, go watch the episode, come right on back to hear our thoughts on this show. There's so many fun cameos and Easter eggs and whatnot in this. And I feel like we need to talk about them, especially talking about Fuzzball.
Yes.
Just the fact that Captain EO is gets a reference here. But even before any of that, even before the show, we're getting a Tuesday release on this.
Different. I'll take it. I'm honestly, I'm okay with Disney Plus just doing random shit like this.
I mean, we make the joke a lot that streaming is just becoming cable.
It already is. I've had to downgrade my Disney Plus subscription to the one that doesn't have 4K because the shit got really expensive last year. I have Netflix with ads. I've got Prime with ads. Everything's got ads, and it pretty much adds up to what the cost of cable would have been anyway. So
yeah, I have two complaints I want to throw out about Disney Plus right now before we really jump into it. First off, I'm finally getting the notifications of being one of the people outside of our main household that's using Disney Plus. It's finally happening. It's finally hitting. It's starting off. This is very much, I think this is probably more of a US problem than it is going to be for Canada. But Disney Plus is getting real cluttered with all of the ESPN Plus and Hulu stuff that is now coming on there.
Yeah, I mean, we don't have ESPN Plus, but the Hulu stuff has been a challenge for a while with the Star banner in Canada. I think that was put out I don't know, sometime last year. So it's been there, it's been in the way, but it's not necessarily been in the way because it's brought us content like What We Do in the Shadows, Alien Romulus, and stuff like that. So I've been happy to have it, and I still need to watch Alien Romulus. But at the same time, it does create this sort of hecticness to the main page. But the household thing, man, that's why Disney Plus got so expensive for me. I can't split the cost anymore with my mom, my sister, my cousin, my wife's sister.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to start paying in full.
I downgraded this year for that reason, but even with having done that, I'm still pissed at Disney for this household thing because anytime you use anything on your network that isn't your network, so let's say you use a VPN for privacy while you're using the internet, as everyone probably should, given the state of the world. Just using that and signing into Disney Plus could cause a household location change because it's all based off of the network tower that you're pinging to from your home network. So in my case, I've now had to, in the last 2 weeks, contact Disney Plus customer care twice to unlock my account that I'm the only one using in my house to be able to watch this without having to AirPlay it from my phone to the TV. And it's beyond ridiculous at this point. They got to loosen those restrictions just a smidge.
Yeah, they got to figure out a better way.
They've done the Netflix thing, but it's a pain in the ass.
Yeah, but even Netflix, like Netflix has their ways around it, right? Where it's like once you've logged in, you have a certain amount of time and whatnot until you have to log in.
Yeah, Disney's not done a great job.
Like you can tell it's the beginning of the rollout for Disney. And it's definitely, they got to work out their kinks. Or also just stop doing it entirely. But I know they aren't going to do that, unfortunately.
No. Because it made too much money for Netflix, so everyone's going to do it.
Okay, now that we've complained.
And also, secondly, I have another soapbox to climb onto, and it has nothing to do with Disney.
Oh, by all means.
I
love to
Creature Commandos came out on HBO Max in the US.
Oh, it's out?
And
I didn't realize it was out.
Yeah, the first couple of episodes are out.
I know what I'm doing now.
And as you should, other than play Marvel Rivals, which we'll probably do an episode on at some point.
Oh, yeah.
But looking specifically at Creature Commandos, there is a streaming service in Canada that has an exclusive deal to bring HBO Max original content to their service. Seems straightforward, right?
Where does this go off the rails? This is going to go off the rails.
Because of the way that the rights work, some things go there, but other things go to Adult Swim, which is a separate service on Stack TV and on Prime in Canada. So I can't get access to things like Harley Quinn or Creature Commandos, even though they're Max original productions that are supposed to be going to this other streaming service that I already pay for. I'm not going to pay for Stack TV to get Adult Swim because I'm already paying for the thing over here, and it's annoying.
So is it because they're DC or because they're animated?
It's because of HBO's deal with Bell Media specifically for their Crave streaming service. I guess it doesn't cover certain aspects of the original content, and that goes to Adult Swim for some reason.
Weird.
Because I think it's actually airing on Adult Swim in Canada. So they have the rights for streaming it, I guess, as well, which is just... It bothers me. Why can't everything be simple?
I would say it's always fun, one of those weird things where it's like, it's kind of fun to see, like, just the difference in streaming rights, especially between you and me, of, like, what we have, fees and whatnot.
I mean, we're going to talk about pirates, so there's always, ways to sail the high seas to alleviate some of these problems as well.
We got to make a graphic or something for the amount of times we talk about pirating. Anyways, that's all we have complained.
Dad, wherever I can cut costs down, I'm going to do it. All right.
Oh yeah, Sam. I'm planning a move.
Wait, you're a new dad?
No. I said I'm cutting costs. I'm planning a move. Yeah, let's talk about this actual show, start to top. Right off the bat, I love these kids. These kids are so fun.
I mean, as with any production that is led by child actors, there's going to be hits and misses. And I think over the course of this series, which I do hope gets more than one season, we're going to see these kids grow and develop into more mature actors, similarly to what we saw with drawing direct comparisons to the most recent pop culture phenomena that did this with Stranger Things. So it's one of those things where you can kind of forgive it because it's kid actors, but obviously it's not the quality of acting you would want out of something like this. But at the same time, it's Star Wars, it's dumb fun, and this show is leaning heavily into that aspect of Star Wars, which is just perfect for this kind of storytelling motif that they're going for here.
When I started watching it, I was like, this is just Star Wars is proving that kids on bikes always works. Like, just give some kids some bikes, have crazy shit happen, and there you go. That's all you really need. Like, this show, it is a very well-established fact at this point that it is heavily inspired by the Goonies, and it wears that on its sleeve. For, so far at least in these first couple episodes, I think for the best. I think that really is what is making me love this show so far, is it just has that energy and like excitement for the unknown and happiness of a random plucky adventure movie about a bunch of kids in the 80s.
Yeah. It is fantasy whimsy with a Star Wars wrapper around this very tried and true formula, and it's 2 episodes in, it's working.
Mm-hmm. Which is hilarious because like Adden is a fucking dystopia, and I stand by that statement.
Oh, I cannot wait to explore more of the lore here, just because, I mean, we're going to kind of jump all over the place, but when they get to the pirate, like, the fact that when they get to the pirate cove, I don't remember what was it, like the pirate port, spaceport, what do you call it?
Port Borgo.
Everyone was like, "Oh, it's a myth. It's a treasure planet," and of course, it's about a treasure planet.
It's
so
a treasure
Griffin's
planet?
all about it. Yeah, but just the idea of this hidden society and the way that their societal hierarchy works with the idea of being assigned roles and all of this class system is going to be really interesting to unpack as we jump back and forth between the crew and what's happening on at Aden.
At Aden.
At Aden. Thank you. So I'm really curious to dive more into, again, with Star Wars, it's all about the lore. And we're not going to get all of it here. I'm sure there's going to be 3 books in a comic series that explain it better. But I'm really excited to see what we get here in season 1 and what breadcrumbs they leave us to explore in future seasons of the show.
See, I think we might get more than you'd expect. It seems like that is, so far at least, the core mystery of this show. What is at Aden to the rest of the universe? And what really is it hiding? Like, I think what we've seen so far, just having suburbia in Star Wars is something that I was like a little like confused by, admittedly, initially, kind of in the same vein of being confused like when we had suburbia in Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3.
When I was watching this with Carmen, that was the first thing I called out. I'm like, we've never seen suburbia in Star Wars before. This is awesome.
Yeah, and it's like, as soon as immediately it hits, like, oh, this works. This is really interesting. Seeing some of the stuff, seeing kind of some of the bits and pieces of nods to, like, maybe something is a little weird here. The thing that was throwing me off was the RX droid driving the bus. And the bus opening, and it plays the Star Tours chimes.
That was fun. I really enjoyed that.
Mm-hmm. But it makes me wonder, like,
is everything piloted by an RX droid going to have that chime? Is that just a thing? And if so, great. And if not, I love the Easter egg.
Well, it also makes you wonder, like, okay, well, Star Tours is technically canon. The existence of Star Tours.
Yep.
Is this a repurposed Star Tours vehicle that's been turned into this bus? Like, what's happening here?
I wouldn't go that deep into it because it does feel like at Aten is sort of this. It is this bubble, right? Like they talk about the barrier. No one goes beyond the barrier. Shout out Moana. I still got to get out to see that movie. We'll talk about it eventually.
Yo ho.
It's hard. It's hard with a kid, but it's going to be interesting as they explore more of like what this world being in a bubble means. Like, I'm very curious. Like as we learn more about the security measures of this planet, what they've done to isolate themselves, why they've isolated themselves, why they're this, infamous treasure planet, this myth. And really just the overreach of some of the security droids and stuff, like the fact that they're always patrolling and calling them out for doing all this BS, like with Wim falling into the crevasse and the droid finding him to the other droids finding Wim's dad in the forest after they've gone off planet. Like, I'm very curious to see what this, like,
even just the very
Big
design
Brother-esque society turns out to be.
Like, literally, their head is a giant camera. That is a very deliberate choice. The droid design in these first couple episodes is excellent.
Just design in general, the set design, character design. Like, what's his name is the best boy, and if anything happens to him, we riot.
Neil? Neil
is the best. Nothing can happen to Neil. The fact that Neil is not the same species as Max Rebo blows my mind.
See, because Max Rebo does just look like an aged musician version of...
He looks like he looks like a blue elephant.
Look, Star Wars is going to Star Wars weird. I hate it too.
I'm sure there's reasons. There's reasons, I'm sure, but...
Yeah,
still weird.
I really do like this core cast. Wim in particular Wim's character has got a little bit annoying for me here and there, but I think that's kind of the point. I think it is because, the naivete of a child. I think Wim has it. Wim and Fern, I think, are the most naive of these 4 children, but just on 2 opposite ends of the spectrum, which I think is really what's making for the fun dynamic between those characters. Like, just how much
also just
Fern hates the boys.
Shout out to the actor Ravi Kavik Conyers. Apologies for butchering that if I did. For starring in 2 of Disney's biggest universes to date. Like, he was Antonio in Encanto, and now he's in Star Wars. Like, that's a wicked glow up, and this kid is in for some good. Like, he has a lot of personality, and you don't get that a lot of times out of child actors. And I do think a lot of the 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 dislike, I guess, of the character, if you want to go that far, is going to be rooted in his family, because it does seem like it's just him and his dad. What's the reasoning behind that? What scars has that left? I've actually been rewatching Suits recently, which I never finished the first go around.
I'm really curious how you're
But
about to tie Suits into Skeleton Crew, but go for it.
Okay, so for those who aren't aware, the main character of Suits, Harvey Specter, has a family history of infidelity, and like there's a lot of scars in his childhood that have led him to being the kind of not great person that he is, and he's working through those issues. And I do see the character of Wim likely having some similar flaws to have to work through, which is why he's kind of like standoffish. He's kind of like a rebel, and that's going to come to more light as we learn more about his background, how he's grown up, what happened to his mom, stuff like that, or his other parent. I don't want to assume.
Yeah, and I think we're getting a
Parental
similar thing
relationship.
from Fern, which I do want to shout out. We're talking about, how Ravi Kapakonyers was Encanto this. Ryan Kira Armstrong, who plays Fern, was also in Black Widow.
Yeah. And she played the young Natasha, right?
Young
Or
Antonia.
Elena?
No, Taskmaster. Child.
Oh, okay.
Antonia. Because people are going to remember her name. Well, hopefully people remember her name after...
young Taskmaster. Yeah.
Hopefully people remember her name it being Antonia after Thunderbolts, but that's next year. Having
see.
this...
I have a theory around that.
We'll save it for the next Marvel show. But like having that rebel kid, like I think Wim is that kid who desperately wants to rebel, but just can't find it in himself. Like he does have Neil to pull him back from the edge, and you kind of see that a little bit in that first episode. Whereas Fern and KB being a fucking homie throughout this show so far.
Yeah, really cool. Very, very much like
Tech.
Oh, what was LeVar Burton's character's name in Star Trek: The Next Generation?
Oh God.
It has been a long time since I watched The Next Generation.
It makes me upset that I don't remember it immediately.
Me too.
Let's see.
Geordie
George
LaForge.
Yeah.
So giving huge Geordie LaForge vibes, which
Is it just the glasses?
About. Like it, just the glasses, obviously the visor. But at the end of the day, like that is a unique character trait of this character. It isn't something we've seen in Star Wars before. So again, it'll be interesting to understand why she's got this visor, why she's got this enhancement, right? Like,
so I love the visor, but like that enhancement is very similar to Echo.
Yeah.
From Bad Batch. So I'm very curious if we'll see more of that. But like getting back to Fern for a second, like her being this rebel because her mom is the head of all of this stuff, or high up in all of this stuff and whatnot, and seeing all of that, seeing like the house droids that help take care of things, and like she just overrides it with a statement, like gets it done fast.
Well,
like
even when Wim is giving his explanation to Fern's mom of what he wants to do, and they're like, "Oh, we have droids for that." Why would like it does feel like this society is very rigid. Like there isn't a lot of flexibility to the way that they're settled into their various roles within their society. So it's going to be interesting to explore more of that. And again, I hope we get enough of that exposition over the remaining 6 episodes. I don't expect them to be as long as the first episode, which I was very surprised when I booted it up and it was like 47 minutes. And I'm glad it was a little longer.
Yeah, I think
the second episode was 30 minutes, and I expect them to kind of fall in that range. So I do think that there's going to be a need for either longer runtimes or additional seasons of this show to really explore this world and this society. And I'm really down for it.
Yeah, I think they do such a good job of like just nailing the kind of the almost authoritarian nature of at Adden, just to kind of break it in and to have it be like, oh, these kids are experiencing freedom for the first time, and how does that work for children in Star Wars? Like, I think that is
especially children who live in this society that is as strict as it is, because we haven't seen anything this rigid really from a kid's perspective.
Yeah.
So it's going to be really interesting to explore more of that,
especially with the situation they're getting
other than
into.
Neil.
Did you catch the Rebels references, by the way, in this?
No, I
episode?
kind of watched it half asleep.
Fair. They do they reference one Adalon, I think is the planet. One of the second planet where like the rebels make their base in Rebels. Uh, but they also, when Wynn is describing this underground Jedi temple, he's describing the Jedi temple on Lothal. And I think that was just cool. And I love that shit. But yeah, like kind of this world they're getting into with Port Borgo and all the pirates. And it's like, oh, you have Old Republic credits. That took me by so much surprise. It's like, oh, those are Old Republic credits. Like, I didn't think anything of it when he put them down on the table. I was like, here's your lunch money before. Like,
yeah, that was no big deal.
So
But when
good.
we get to the pirate alcove and that ferryman, I guess, takes it and freaks out, I'm like, oh, okay, this is gonna be a bigger deal than I expected it to be. And it makes sense, right? They've been living in this sheltered society for as long as they have, that they don't know anything other than the Old Republic. So it's going to be interesting to see what that means for these kids as they explore the universe, especially in the fallout of Empire, where Jedis don't exist. So the fact that we've got a Force wielder, I'm not going to call him a Jedi because I'm still, not sold on that,
Yeah.
especially with the way that the first episode opens and that clowly being
Jude
Jude
him.
Law's character.
Yeah.
Clearly.
Also, quick,
So it's going to be interesting to see how we explore that.
quick rewind. Shout out to the ferryman. That's a teak. That's a fucking teak from Endor.
Look, I don't know all the species in Star Wars. I just called him a Max Rebo. All right, like,
Well, no,
Come on.
the teak is that's from the Ewok movie, the Ewok made for TV shitty ass movie.
I've never seen that.
That's really
I've never seen
bad.
it.
Don't watch it. It's really
Sure,
bad.
it's on Disney Plus.
But we got a reference to that. We also got a reference straight up to Star Wars Holiday Special.
Yes, we did with what Neil's family's watching on TV, right?
Like I love the world that they're setting up. Port Borgo, like, immediately is one of my favorite places we've seen in Star Wars. Like, I have a rule when it comes to media, and that is pirates are cool. You put pirates in space, and they're just even cooler.
Yeah, I mean, you've got friggin' Shmi from Peter Pan in this business. Like, it's so fun.
Well, even still, like, SM-33 is awesome. I love this droid. Immediately, I love this droid. We'll see.
Just the fact that he's only got one working eye, so, like, it's technically an eye patch. Like, it's very much, he's a pirate, like, space pirate.
Yeah, and he
I
has,
love
like, the rat that pops out of him and stuff. And we got a little, like, Pirates of the Caribbean moment of them trying to send the rat to get the key. I think this is just going to be such a fun, unique, like, just jaunt through Star Wars. Like, I said it when the space pirates showed up in Mando season 3. But it was like, having this piracy within the world instantly makes it more interesting to me. Because it's like, piracy especially is such a middle ground when it comes to laws and dynamics within the world and morality within the world. You can really do a lot with piracy. And one of my favorite Star Wars characters is, to this day, is still Hondo. Our beloved space pirate from Rebels and Clone Wars. Like, there's so much you can do there, and I think it's really, really fun. I also want to quickly shout out, we do know, it's not mentioned yet in the show, but we do know what the name of the ship is. And the ship's name is cool. It is the Onyx Cinder. And that's just a dope name.
I mean, yeah.
So, like, going forward, I definitely have questions on where we're going forward, particularly, most of it, honestly, revolving around Jude Law's character. Like,
Well, just the fact that he's going to give these kids some story of, like, he can get them home and he knows exactly where he's going, blah, 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 and he's not going to know anything. They're going to go through a whole bunch of trials and tribulation, end up back on AT-AT, and then something's going to happen. All hell's going to break loose as more pirates find this place, but I'm very interested to see where it goes here. I'm very interested to see where the story of these kids goes into future seasons of this show.
yeah, I'm interested with Jude
And that's
Law
after
if
2
we're,
episodes.
I'm interested if we're going to get, like, if he's going to have his full, like, come around to love these kids. Like, is he going to be all these on these kids' side? Is he going to be more pirate, more caretaker, more Jedi? Or is he going to just go full Captain Flynn from Treasure Island, Where no, he's going to warm himself up to them just to betray them at the end. Like, you could do a lot with this with a mentor style character, especially for children this young.
Well, especially with you've got a character like Wim who's so caught up in the fantasy of being a Jedi and just what being a Jedi means. And you're going to have that juxtaposed with Jude Law's character, who's presumably going to be this space pirate that did what he had to do to survive the Jedi Purge and all of these things. So the old school thinking or the old school whimsy of Wim's. Now I'm actually realizing why they named the character what they did, which is kind of amazing. The whimsy of the way that Wim approaches the idea of the Jedi, the just Jedis in general, and what meaning this Jedi or Force user, quote unquote Jedi, is going to mean in terms of the lines he's going to cross or the lines he's already crossed, and what that's going to mean for Wim and his discovery of the universe and his growing and maturing as an individual and what that all means. It's going to be really interesting to see what approach they take with that relationship, which I'm really, really looking forward to them exploring here.
Mm-hmm. Now, Mitch, I do have one question for you when it comes to this. We've already seen many times already Wim hitting buttons that he's not supposed to. He has been specifically told not to hit one specific button on the ship.
He's going to hit the button in the next episode.
I was going to say. I'm not asking if he's going to do it. I'm asking what episode is he hitting this damn button?
Next week. It'll be the end. It'll be the cliffhanger of the episode, and that'll be it.
See, I think it's gonna pay off like near the end. I think it's gonna be like an episode 6 kind of deal.
It would be great if we got to a point where SM33 tells him to hit the button for some reason. We don't know what it is. Cliffhanger, and then we get the payoff in the next episode. That would be a lot of fun, but
just shout out to Star Wars.
I'm very curious to see where they go with that.
And I will shout out any franchise that does it. But every time, I love a character who's just gonna hit the button they're not supposed to.
You gotta love that from a lead character, because every character is flawed, and his is that he pushes shiny buttons, as many kids with ADHD would. So it's relatable in that way.
Yeah. Anyways, folks, we are back. I cannot wait for next week. This is gonna be such a fun show to go through with y'all. But
and then we got What If at some point to interject within this, right? Because
we got What If coming. We got Dream Productions coming.
Dream Productions is like next week, isn't it?
Is it? Oh, God.
I think so, yeah. Let me see.
Dream Productions is definitely happening at some point soon.
December 11th.
Oh, God, yeah, that's real quick. That is next
But
Wednesday.
it also looks like it's only 4 episodes, and they're all dropping at once.
Thank God.
So they're probably going to be shorts more than anything else, which I'm fine with. We can do a quick interstitial on that. Maybe some other holiday classics to get us through to the new year.
Yeah. Every once in a while, I wish I could give people just a glimpse into our Discord if it's like, I'm just an idiot. I'm sorry.
I will live or die by the fact that our episode on Die Hard is the best holiday episode we've done thus far in the show.
Oh, easily.
Because it's probably the only one we've done.
No, we've done others. We've done a couple. Anyways, folks.
I guess technically What If was.
Well, there was a couple we did before you were on the show.
Yeah.
Anyways, well, we're going to wrap this up. Thank you, everybody, for listening. We will see y'all back next week. If you want to keep up with us until then, follow us everywhere. Follow YouTube, yada, 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 blah, 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 blah. Until next time.
Thumbs up, share with grandma, all the things you can do. It all is appreciated and goes
pet
a long
your
way to
dog.
making us continue to want to make this show.
That's my job to you. If you have a dog, go pet it. Anyways, bright suns, be good to each other, and until next time, have a magical day.